Hello, hello. I was trying to show my face, but I'm having problems with Zoom, so pardon me.
All good, all good.
Our mini entrepreneur, Mia wanted to say hi. Hi.
Hi, mini entrepreneur.
We're all tuning in tonight.
I see. Hi, Billy. Also haven't seen your face in a while. You're muted. If you're muted.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
There she is.
still in Texas.
Okay. Okay.
hmm But yeah, I was gonna hop on. So I may or may not have my camera or mic on, but I'll be bouncing back in and out.
That's perfectly fine. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started because they've started the recording. So
Okay.
Um, most of you on the call really, yeah, know me already. But I appreciate the opportunity to get on the call or host a call and kind of talk about my experience the last couple of months um, doing Georgia in a Jar. And I titled it, I went from Rise of a Side Hustle to a Real Talk Roundtable because this is not the rise of a side hustle. The side hustle has been around forever. Um, and I don't want to take credit from anyone or anything, any other movement that I have joined. But I also changed the title because I want it to be, oh my gosh, we have another guest. He has a cone on though, or she has a cone on. Uh, but yeah, I just wanted this to be an open, honest conversation. One, from my perspective, two, from your perspective, because I know there are people on the call who are in the midst of doing or building side hustles or trying to figure out what's next, or the side hustle has already taken off and it's more of like, this is my bread and butter now. So please don't let me be the only person talking tonight. I would hate that. Um, the other part of this I want to say before we get started is this is not a conversation where I'm going to say, hey, go look at your law, your local ordinances and look at your laws. And this is how you LLC. And this is what you should like. It's not going to be cookie cutter conversation or cut and dry from that perspective. This is my perspective and I want to hear yours. So we can go ahead and get started. I want to know though, is anybody drinking anything? Like, is it just me? No, it is. Yes. Okay.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay. All right. Hello. Is that sake? Cortessa? Oh,
Soju.
soju. Okay. Okay. Who else has?
I got some bourbon tonight, actually.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. Blanc de Blanc. Okay. So I was the only one who was adventurous over the weekend while I was at Aldi and saw that they have a method, what is it? Method traditional brute sparkling. It's okay, but it's also like it's okay. I also don't feel bad putting the cranberry cinnamon simple syrup that I made in it either. Like if that makes sense. So here's mine for tonight. It looks like a rosé, but it's not. Um, so yeah, awesome. Glad we all have something in our glasses. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I cannot share my screen because I'm not a host, so you may not be able to see me while we're having conversations. Um, oh, yeah, maybe we can. Okay. Hi, Mo. Welcome to the conversation. All right, so let's see. All right. You all are looking at yourselves right now. And how do I get rid of this thing at the top? Mm, 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 mm. How do I move this bar, guys? Don't leave me hanging down. There we go. Okay. All right. Are you all able to see the presentation?
Yep, I got it.
Perfect. Okay. Without seeing yourselves on the screen? Can you still see yourselves on the side of my screen or no, you're good?
I just see like your browser window.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So again, welcome to Real Talk Roundtable. I am Bianca Anderson. I launched Georgia in a Jar this year, which is a Southern Canning and Micro Bakery Company. So Southern Canning is exactly what it sounds like. Probably our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents know about just the art of preservation. Being able to store things away for a time when you really need it. And over the last year, I've just been kind of accumulating different texts and watching different videos and just testing out different recipes. And I decided, you know, if I'm going to lend any type of purpose to the world, I want it to be in the form of food. And so I am a foodie. I love trying new things. I like going out and doing, of course, wine tastings. That's why all of us are here. But I love doing wine tastings and just kind of being adventurous. But this was kind of like my contribution to society and why I got started. So before we jump in, if you are not shy, would you mind unmuting and telling me either what your passion is, what your business is, or what you're thinking of creating? It can be as rough as you want it to be. Anybody? I know some people on here have businesses, and I know I've been to some other people's launches, so.
Can you repeat the question a little bit?
Sure. Oh, Monica, where did you want to go ahead? I can repeat the question, but Monica, did you want to go?
Yep, I can go. For me, over the years, I've been putting the pieces together for a wine tasting and events business.
Okay.
Not had much traction where I've relocated to.
You said, what's the last part again? It
hasn't had much traction where I've relocated to.
Where did you relocate from and to?
I was in LA and now I'm in St. Louis.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. And then who asked me? Somebody asked me to repeat the question. I was just asking, what is your current business? What is something that you are passionate about or would consider turning into a business if you felt like you wanted to?
I can go. Hi, everyone. My name is Devereaux. I recently graduated my master's in wine and spirits, and one of my peers and I are actually in the process of launching our experiential wine collective group. So it is a experience group for zillennials, essentially, that really focus on wine and spirits education with the synergy of business, culture, art, all those things to kind of create this third space for my peer group.
Awesome. Anyone else? Okay, we'll keep going.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Billy. Go ahead. You're fine.
Well, I have well, a couple businesses. All of them are primarily wine focused, with the exception of one that's related to the wine industry, via charcuterie. But one is the Vino Van, of course, which is a wine tour company. And the second is Goodness in the Glass, which is basically focused on the wine education via pop-ups, private tastings, wine pairing dinners. And then thirdly, and most recent, I launched the Posh Nosh, which is a mobile charcuterie cart. And so really all three of those businesses were absolutely born from the passion that I have for food and wine. And then of course with the Posh Nosh, I feature Georgia in the Jars, jams and jellies on my cart.
Hey. All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I did a small snippet of my journey. So my 9 to 5 is I'm an HR business partner in the luxury hospitality space. So the company I work for, we do new builds, remodels, and hurricane remediations in the hotel space. So I recently, well, it's been almost 2 years now. It doesn't feel that long, but I recently joined a company that has PMs that managed the projects from inception to completion. I also started off in the wine space back in about 2017. I was a volunteer at Atlanta Wine School. I was one of the people who I would come in and work the events, and then whatever was left over at the end of the night, the wine, the food was free game. So that's how I started my wine journey, my food or culinary journey as well. I had my big girl job and I quit my job at the golf course and I was like, something's missing. And then I started there and it's just like my world opened up and it kind of took off from there. So I am WSET 2 certified. I haven't decided if I want to sit for 3. Don't know if I need it, but I can have really good conversations with you at this point. I'm a founding member of Hue Society's Atlanta chapter. I am also the president for the Atlanta chapter since 2023. And like I said before, I launched Georgia in a Jar this year as a creative outlet. My HR business partnering role is not strenuous, but it also doesn't lend itself to me being very creative very often. A lot of it is people and a lot of it is policy. A lot of it is just like by the book for most definitions. So being able to come home and create or create community or spaces has been a really big thing for me. And so I wanted to take that to the next level this year. All right. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is before you jump in. So the mental and physical foundations of all of this. Oftentimes when we talk about passion, we are so embroiled in, I love this, I love the people, I love the energy, and oh, this just makes me so happy to do this because some other area of our life does not give us the same that same energetic feeling. It doesn't stir inside of us the same way. And so I'm guilty of that. I am one of those people who I like to go off energy until I get burned out or I realize everybody else is not on the same page or I've jumped the gun and there were things that I should have considered before I actually jumped into whatever I'm doing. And so I know I said at the beginning of the conversation, this is not going to be cookie cutter and I promise it's not. But the first thing I want people to consider is doing your research. And when I say do your research, the first question here is entrepreneurship for me? With entrepreneurship comes basically everything, every single hat. Jumping back to what I went to school for, I've been an HR manager of one for for at least 2 companies that I work for now. So I understand the idea of wearing all the hats, but at 5 o'clock, I get to take the hat off and I get to go home and I don't have to worry about anybody else until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, God willing. But honestly, sitting down and asking yourself, is entrepreneurship for me? And actually saying, do I want to be the marketer? Do I want to be the manager? Do I want to be the spokesperson? Do I want to be the event planner? Do I want to be the curator? Asking yourself whether that is worth the mental angst as well is going to be probably one of the best things you can do for yourself. In addition to asking yourself that, look at your market. How many people around you are doing what you're doing? And if people are doing what you're doing, how are you setting yourself apart? So for instance, and I might just call on you and I'm so sorry. Monica, you said that you're not seeing the same traction or the same level of interest where you just moved to. What do you feel like is like a barrier to success for you having left LA and gone to, was it St. Louis?
Yeah. Be very intentional in working with Black wine related businesses in the city. And none of them have followed through even after multiple attempts, multiple calls, asked for a meeting. And so I'm having to go beyond my people and look for opportunities and partnerships there.
Okay, awesome. So it's not necessarily the audience as much as it is just the partnerships getting started. Do you feel like you have an audience there, or is it?
No,
I don't. Okay.
St. Louis is, we drink Moscato and Hennessy. So it's getting into the places where they drink the Moscato and Hennessy and exposing them to more than just the things they're comfortable with and the things that they know, which is usually your bars. We have 2 and a half, maybe Black-owned wine bars. But it is quite difficult getting into those places and setting up those wine down Wednesdays and things of that nature.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Anybody else? Oh, go ahead.
People down either. So I'll call, email, text. You say, "Oh, I'm gonna get back to you," and you don't.
And you never
I take
do.
it as a no, and I move on. So I don't know if I need to be more aggressive or follow up more beyond. I don't.
I think you find your people and you keep pushing, honestly. And the unfortunate part of that sometimes is that the people don't look like us. I'll leave that there because I've had a lot of those conversations about other things in the past year, and it's an unfortunate situation that we, in certain places, we are not jumping on board to help each other. I'll say that. But thank you for your honesty. Startup costs are another thing to consider before you jump in here. Startup costs is not just, oh, my materials, or, oh, it's like gas to get back and forth to events. It's vendor fees. It's, for me as a micro bakery, it's okay, how much flour do I need for the month of November? If I'm offering this special or if I'm offering this item, how much do I need to buy so I'm not going to the store 4 times this month and spending what I could have spent 1 time, or spending a fraction of what I've spent 4 times. And then also research your why. And that's going to cost you to go deeper within yourself. So are you doing this because you want a little extra pocket change? Are you doing this because you want to knock some debt off? Or are you simply doing this to have something to do? Any questions or comments or anything you want to add to the part about doing your research before we get into setting up systems?
I'd like to add something.
Sure.
More of a comment. I didn't raise my hand before, but I've got a fragrance business, like fine fragrance, personal fragrance, and wanted to expand more into home fragrance. And it really started off as like purely creative, something I did on my own that was really just kind of fulfilling for me, and sharing with my friends, and then expanding that into more of a business. And like,
Yeah.
that has definitely sucked some of the fun out of it and enjoyment out of it. And so, like, finding my why, I think from a business perspective, kind of blended in with the startup costs. Materials for fine fragrance aren't cheap. I know, Bianca, we've had conversations about that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the finding your why part is super important. And that's something that, like, I find myself asking on those difficult days. It's like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Zach. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's say you've done your research, you've figured out, yes, it's for me. I don't care what the market says, I'm gonna do it anyway. The startup costs are dropping the bucket to you, or you feel like you can manage it, and then you figured out your why. The next step here really is to set up systems. One thing I did, and I made a point to do before I said, hey, come buy something from me, was set up all the background systems. The last thing I wanted to do was be collecting money, trying to figure out where it's going, trying to figure out what taxes look like, because the reality is that a lot of us get caught up in that space come tax season. I am fortunate to be surrounded by many different people in the finance space who, before I launched the business and while I was setting up the systems, were asking me, are you putting these things in place? Do you need to separate your business and your personal? What software are you using? This is free until you get to this many customers. How are you automating this? Because you're going to get tired and you're not going to feel like doing this. So I was fortunate enough to be in that space, but sometimes we're not. And so having systems in place, even down to creating a schedule for yourself. When I say create a schedule, for me, that looks like on Sundays, one Sunday out of the month, and this is generally how it works for me. For the holiday, it's different. But on one Sunday out of the month, I open up my virtual storefront. I open that virtual storefront from Sunday at noon until Wednesday at 6 p.m. So you can place an order between that time. At 6 p.m. on Wednesday, when orders close, that's when I go and I count up, okay, this is how many jars I'm going to need, or how many orders have been placed for this item. I pull all those items on Wednesday, and I measure out all my items on Thursday. I mean, I measure out all my items on Wednesday as well. So if there's If I'm baking specific amount of cookies, I'm like, okay, I need to bake three dozen of these. I need to measure out this much. I do all of that on Wednesday. I make all of my doughs on Thursday and chill them overnight. On Friday, I bake everything. Unless I know I'm not going to see you until Sunday or Monday of the following week because we talked. I do all of that on Friday night. That way on Saturday, on pickup day, you're literally pulling up and I'm just putting a box in your car. I'm not staying up until 2 a.m. on Friday night trying to pull orders, bake all the things, box all the things. And I say this will change because as you grow, your systems have to change. That's just reality. And that's a good thing. Change or growth means good change. We hope. So putting your systems in place, making sure that you're setting those up. And then also, this one was big for me. And it was a lesson that came from a distributor that I used to do some part-time work for. And I think I said it a little bit nicer than what she said, but I had and still have aspirations of putting a wine out there into the world. And she said, nobody needs what you're creating. And she said, as long as you remember that and keep that at the forefront of what you're doing, she was like, you'll never be disappointed. Nobody needs it. You have to find the people that want it. And so how I put it is your passion may not read as purposeful to everyone, but your audience is out there. Embrace misunderstanding. Be okay with the fact that everybody is not going to get it. And then move on and find the people that do. Find 3 people you trust and share your idea, and then practice explaining your concept. Practice breaking it down to a granular level and working with that. Your elevator pitch. When I get in front of people, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to do. If they deny me, okay, thank you for your time, and keep going. But you've practiced it so much that now it's second nature and you believe in it. What I actually did with and I'll say 2 things. The first thing I did was a friend of mine, we set up Monday calls for every other week. We called them mastermind calls. They were an hour and a half, or they probably were longer than that because we started talking about other stuff. But we literally will go down our list of things that we want to do or are doing. We'll talk through them. And then we give each other action items for the next call. And that could be like 3 things that I need you to do between now and in the next 2 weeks. And that really kept me accountable. And it also put into perspective how many things were swirling through my brain. And I'll get to that on the next slide, but I'm an idea person. I'm like, oh, this is good. Oh, I'm gonna write this down. Oh, that's great. And then I'm so clouded and bogged down with ideas that I'm not moving forward. But having conversations with her really helped me hone in on some things. And some things I completely threw out, and some things I said, not right now, but later. And it helped me to really prioritize. So find your people, find your circle. The bonus I want to say with embrace misunderstanding is, unfortunately, your family is not going to always understand. Your family is also not going to be the reason you become a millionaire unless they started before you were born. And take that with a grain of salt. But what I've noticed is the community that I've built goes a lot harder than like my family. They're like, oh, this is great. It's wonderful. But the community and the audience is like, this is great. It's wonderful. Try it. You need to be over here. You need to be at this event. You need to be at that event. And so it may not always be the people that you expect. Granted, I expected my community to show up, but it may not always be the people you expect. Mom and dad might not see or understand what you're doing. They're like, you went to school and got this degree and you want to do what? You have to blow past all of it if it's truly something that you want to do. Any other thoughts and feelings though around before you jump in? I know this is very specific to me and my thoughts, but any other thoughts, any other feelings that you guys felt before you jumped in that really shaped the foundation for you?
I have a comment about the jumping in.
Sure.
For years, people have been telling me, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you should start doing this. And they're just pouring ideas into me as far as how I can use my skill set and my wine knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But I resist it because I don't believe that you should start a business because someone told you you should.
Right.
They might admire your traits, but going back to what you said about your why, are you doing it to please someone, or are you doing it because you think you're supposed to,
Yeah.
because your best friend is doing it? So you really have to have a deep seed within you as to how you want to show up in the world with this idea. And I agree with you, you have to own it. If you can talk about it with passion, then the people will gravitate towards you. So I actually do have a business. I just don't talk about it because it's not where I want it to be. I
Mhm.
didn't throw uh, a dart at the dartboard and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I found that my business found me, and it was based on life experiences and new skill sets and interactions with people. I actually have a website that I'm still developing, although it could be published. It's not where I want it to be. So
Mhm.
I think that jumping the gun because you think you're supposed to do something by a certain time frame is not the best idea.
Right.
And from what I know of you, you're right, you are an idea person. And I can relate to that. I have all kinds of ideas swirling in my head, but I think I've finally centered myself around what I think I'm best at and what distinguishes me from the crowd of people who love to do what I do.
Right.
So that's my comment related to that. Now, what I wanted to ask you, Bianca, when you were doing your research, how did you determine what your needs were? And what I mean by that is you have this wonderful product. And by the way, I love the name of your company. I
Thank
think
you.
it's so unique, and the alliteration makes you remember what the product is. But you needed jars, if I'm not mistaken. You
Mhm.
needed boxes, you needed places to store your your inventory. So
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about how you came up with those decisions? And if once you launched, you realize, oh, I order my jars from this place that is outside of the United States. So now I have to figure out, am I going to be affected by tariffs and all those kinds of things? So I'd love to hear the before you got to setting up your system, did you consider all of these different things um, that were on the landscape?
Sure. So to answer that question, I knew whatever I was buying, I wanted it to be made here in the United States because then there wouldn't be any barriers to actually receiving supplies. And I realized like that could be a little bit pricier. But I wasn't afraid of that because I would rather be able to get what I need than hold up the process by not having something that I needed. Another thing was, so I moved into where I am now in like November of last year. It's been almost a year. It's crazy. One of the reasons why, or one of the excuses why I told myself I didn't want to do anything or I couldn't do anything was because I didn't have the space. And then I looked around one day and was like, oh, you have the space. So what's your excuse now? Um, then I've always gone, there's a farmer's market at the park around me, walking distance. I go to the farmer's market. I went Saturday and I'm always looking at what people are providing. You have the people who make bread, the people who bring their vegetables from 2 hours outside of Atlanta, or they have small farms and things like that. I started working on recipes and I started working on just items to sell. And I was like, I don't want to be like everybody else. What can I do to differentiate myself? And that put a pause on what I was doing up until probably about the summer of this year. And then I started to kind of revisit my why. What do you like to do? What brings you joy? What would you not get tired of doing? What are things? How are you showing up in ways in your everyday life that you want to show up in this business? And so one thing about me is I always feel like I do too much. I'll show up to an event and be like, I made cookies, or I brought you guys some, brought you guys things, or I, went out and bought this because I feel like everybody would like it. And I'm just like, people will tell me like, no, you're not doing too much. You're doing things that you enjoy. me being in the kitchen and providing something, bringing something, I like to bring that joy to any setting that I'm in. If anyone has ever been to my home or I've hosted them in any capacity, I love hosting people. I love cooking. I love talking about what I've created, how you can use it, all the different ways that it'll be, useful in what you've got going on. But then I also looked around at the world that we're in right now, and food insecurity is really big. There's a lot of uncertainty around what today looks like and whether it'll look like that again tomorrow. And so that really embraced the canning portion, is like, I want to give you something that you can put in the back of the pantry and forget about for a while and say, oh my gosh, I didn't know I still had these. And so getting started, it feels more indulgent. Now, next year, it'll feel more, what's the word? Sustainable. From the perspective of what I'm providing. So you'll get the vegetables, or you'll get the broths, or you'll get the soups, things like that you actually can store, and they have a different use factor. But for me, it's really just, I look around me and I'm like, what need can I meet in the space that I have, in the capacity that I have? Does that answer your question? I gave you a lot. I'm sorry.
I had a very layered comment, so I appreciate what you're saying, and uh, perhaps you're going to get to this, but I'm also curious to know, because I've seen your social media and how you rolled out your business. Is that something you're going to talk about, marketing, photography, and all of that? Because I'm curious to know how you went through that process.
Got you. It's
Mhm.
coming. Anybody else before we move on to the next slide? Okay, and we'll go. All right, so lessons, pivots, and realizations. My first lesson was just start. Like Susan and I were just going back and forth on, I will beat an idea to death in my brain on a piece of paper. I will research it to death and then put it in the bag and say, I'm going to think about it for a while, and then pick it up again and be like, do I want to do this? And I was like, you just got to do it. So specifically with Georgia in a Jar, I had planned it out. I was like, I'm going to do a 2-week launch, and I'm going to hold it off for this long. Then I'm going to do this. And then I was like, you know what? It's open today. I was like, it's open today, right now. You can order it right now and you can pick it up on Sunday, because I just had to figure out, what does it even look like? I'm trying to plan for things that have not even happened yet. I can always change. It does not have to stay the same because I said that today. So the realization there was, I'll execute for others, but not for myself. And I wasn't showing up for myself. I was dependable for whatever anybody else needed, whatever Hugh Society needed, whatever my job needed, but I was not utilizing skills and talents that were my skills and talents in a way that were amplifying. I want to say amplifying me, but like, it's bigger than me. But I wasn't amplifying skills that I felt like were beneficial. Susan, here's your answer. Here's a part of your answer. Marketing is hard. It is hard. Marketing is difficult, and so is social media in general, but especially when I am trying to get the perfect shot, I realize I am not easily pleased when it comes to pictures and photos and things like that. I am not easily pleased. I will take 22 pictures and delete all 22. And that is discouraging probably to hear, but it's also very real. The other part of that is wearing all the hats is also hard, but I'm also choosing my hard. Going to work every day and never building anything for myself and watching my CEO, who's been doing his business for as long as I've been alive, and watching how he branched off, and then me being afraid to branch off and do something different, I had to choose my heart. So yeah, marketing is difficult, and social media is hard, and food photography is hard, but it's going to stay hard if I don't keep practicing it. I watch the YouTube videos. I have friends who are photographers. Before I hire them, I ask them questions. And if I have to pay you, I will. And that means if I can't ask you these questions today, or if I can't afford it today, I'll be back when I can. But it's been difficult. And I do have another comment to that with the switch up. So I actually changed the title of that to switch, pivot, or quit, because sometimes we get to this point in the journey and you realize I don't really want to pivot. I just don't want to do this anymore. And that's real, and that there's no fault there at all. Sometimes you just realize I thought this is what I wanted and it's not, and that's okay too. To further answer your question though, Susan, the direction, the branding materials and things that I started with are not what I want anymore. I am in a space right now where when I figure out what I want, everything that's on there now is coming down. Until that time, something will be there because I want to still establish the fact that there's a presence here. But when I figure out what that looks like next, I am going to completely change the branding material. And it's cute, but I don't want to give cute. I want to give Southern charm. I want to give Southern elegance. I want to give assured, like that. I want people to be sure that when they see Georgia in a jar, not just the label, but the product itself, there's a level of confidence behind that label, that seal, the jar itself. And I just feel like when you wear all the hats, you think about all the things. I want to be in a place where things don't feel like they're falling by the wayside. Does that make sense to everyone? I can't see all the faces, so. Any comments though, any lessons or pivots or realizations you had about businesses that you currently are in or businesses you might want to start? Is anyone struggling with any of these things that they might want to share?
I want to share something really quickly.
Okay.
So about the comment you made about the really primarily the quitting part.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said that if you realize after you've gotten into it and you're moving through it, like, okay, well, you know what? I don't think I want to do this like how I did initially.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just kind of add to that to say, before you completely just do away with it all or quit it, I think the most important thing is to figure out your reason for saying this is not something that I want to do. And not just simply because you've gotten into it and you realize that as you're moving through it, it's very, very difficult,
Yeah.
or it's requiring more from you than you thought it would. Because in situations like those, for me, I wouldn't suggest that someone would quit for that reason. So I just kind of want to throw out there, if that's something that you ever encounter, to just establish a reason why, and just make sure that it's a valid reason why, and not just simply because
It's
you.
hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Just not just simply because, all right, well, you know what? I didn't think it was going to be, I knew it might not be easy, but I didn't think it was going to be this hard. You know what I'm saying? Because, sometimes that can, you know, defer, a dream, just simply because of that reason. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as for something, as something for people to think about before you just completely do away with it.
Right. Very much a valid point. Why are you giving up? Why are you deciding to walk away from it all? Anyone else before we move on?
Well, I hate to be the one who talks the most, but but I think this is so interesting, especially the concept of switching up, because I think once you start doing something and you get feedback and you get a chance to reflect, as you're saying, the image that I want is a little bit more refined than what I started with.
Yeah.
And where I want to elevate and be competitively is not what I'm doing right now. But I think the fact that you get started in the first place is a win.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had not started, you wouldn't be able to hone in how you really want to present your product or your business. And I think that goes back to what I said. I could announce to the world that Susan has a business, but I'm not going to do that until, like you, I know that I'm at a place that what I've done is what I want to stand behind and what I'm proud of, and that I can sell you on in the
Right.
way that represents who I am. So I don't know if this is a place of encouragement or just co-signing on what you said, but I think with any business, and Billy probably knows this as well, as you do it, you bring in more experience, you bring in more knowledge, you figure out how to move about so that you get in the lane that you want to be in.
Mm-hmm. I have not been in the chat at all. I'm so sorry. I don't know if I missed anything. I agree with Harris. Remember your why you started before you quit. And all of you are telling me what you drank. Okay, cool.
I've got something to add too.
Sure.
And Susan, please don't stop talking because I'm learning all kinds of things. So yeah, thank you. But yeah, towards the switch up, for me, fragrance wasn't the thing that I was initially doing. Um, I was more so doing streetwear design and making clothes. And the pandemic hit and everybody was inside. And so I had all these candles lying around that I've been making for myself for years and decided to sell a candle with my brand. And that ended up selling better than all my clothes. And that's when I decided to pivot into fragrance. And that's kind of how my business found me. And it was hard at first because it wasn't the thing that wasn't my original idea, it wasn't my baby. But I kind of had to listen to that feedback, and it's really served me well since making the pivot. And yeah, so I think for me, I just had to be open to changing directions.
I love that. Thank you, Zach. All right. So we'll move on to, it went twice. Okay. We'll move on to fighting feelings. And actually I have one more thing to add about the pivot or the switch up too. The other part of me outside of just branding and how I want to look and be refined is about what I want to keep building. I think even when I started, I wasn't sure what the next part of this is. What's your moonshot? I wasn't really sure of what my moonshot was. And I decided I'm just going to go until I figure out what that is. A lot of people are like, oh, or have been, oh, you want to open a bakery or you want a storefront. And I'm just like, absolutely not. No, I've never wanted to open up a bakery or a storefront. Like that's never been something I've wanted to do. It was just, I like to bake and I like to make people happy and I liked reactions and I like people gathering around the things that I provide. That was where I started. But I don't want a bakery. I don't actually want to be a baker forever. For me, and this is where we'll get into fighting the feelings. For me, my moonshot is a placement. I want placement in a store, whether that be like a Trader Joe's or an Aldi, because I feel like the things I do are more artisanal. Or for that to be, or for it to be like a coffee shop, places that do create or have contracts for people like myself who might be local bakers or local pastry makers, and you provide at wholesale prices like 300 cookies each month and they go with that, or a certain amount each week. That's the end game for me. So with fighting feelings, navigating the emotional challenges in entrepreneurship, this goes back to figuring out your why. And this is something that I've been sitting on probably for the last 2 weeks, or probably 3 weeks, ever since we decided we were going to have this conversation. I wanted to make sure I'd taken the time to figure out my why, because when somebody asks me, I want to be able to tell them. And I was actually at my very first event in September, where a gentleman asked me, what's your moonshot? And I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, shoot for the moon, land on a star. What's your moonshot? Where do you want to land with whatever your goals are? And so I told him, I was like, I would like to be in a store. But I want to know, what's your moonshot? And what happens when you get there? What's the next step? Or have you even thought that far? And don't feel pressure to answer, but I would like to hear from you if you've thought this far.
Thought that far.
Hold on. Did somebody say something? I'm sorry.
That was me. I said I haven't thought that far.
You haven't thought that far. Okay. And that's real. All right. Well, I'll say I don't know what happens when I get there. One thing that I have come to the realization is that businesses don't have to last forever. You can meet whatever goal you have, and then you can, like we said before, pivot to something else. So I do have a moonshot. I'm trying to figure out what it looks like for me to navigate those relationships to make that a reality. But when I get there, I don't know what's next. I don't know what lies behind that. Let's talk about when I just don't feel like it, because whether you say it out of your mouth, you probably have all thought it, and not even about your passions, just your day-to-day lives. I say this in my head every day. I do not feel like it, but I'm able. And because I'm able, I'm going to, regardless of whatever it is. So at the end of the day, remember, feelings delay promise. There's a process with everything that we do. We see the end goal, we can smile about it, we can daydream about it, but those in between, that process is what's going to get you to that promise at the end. We let temporary feelings trick us out of our spot every day. And with that, we delay the promise of whatever it is we are seeking. And we rest on feelings as if another day or opportunity is guaranteed. But at the end of the day, that is arrogance at its finest, to think that we have all the time and all the opportunity in the world when we don't know what tomorrow looks like. And so this goes back to the idea of just doing it, even if it's a small task that gets you towards whatever it is. Your feelings will continue to dictate your life until you say no more. And then finally, creating a plan. What do you do when you say, I'm tired, or when you feel tired? How will you rest without quitting? For me, personally, I will step back and I will take a break. And that's why I build the schedule the way that I do, so that I don't feel overwhelmed when it is time to execute. I don't have a storefront that's open 30 days out of the month, because I know that I don't have the capacity for that. I also know I like to have a life. I like to go out with friends, and I like to lay in bed or vegetate on the couch some days. And so I've built a schedule that still allows Bianca to do what she enjoys doing when she's not in the kitchen, but also puts me in a position for success when I am. When I don't feel like it, what is something small I can do to push the needle forward? For me, when I don't feel like it, I will sit up, and the easiest thing that I can do is use my little homemade cutter, and I will literally cut out can't see them, but I will literally cut out the cards that I put on my orders. Can't see them at all. Yeah, I will literally cut these out, and I can do them while I watch TV. I just got to make sure all the lines line up, but I can sit on the couch. I can sit in bed. I don't have to be so involved in something, but I know doing that means when it's time to pack orders, or either measuring out string for me to tie my orders up, when I do those small things, when it's time to pack the orders up, I'm not, okay, I got to cut the labels and I got to cut the string and I'm not doing everything at one time, because I use that small time so that I wouldn't feel so stressed later on. I didn't feel like it, but now I'm in a different position while I'm packing these orders up. And then when nothing is going right, how will I regroup and come back? Sometimes things just don't go right. Sometimes you measure things. For me, I measure things out, I put them in the bowl, I mix it up, and I open the oven and say, well, what the hell happened? I don't even understand, because I followed this recipe to a T. What did I do wrong? Sometimes you just got to hang it up, take a breath, go take a nap, go outside, whatever it is. But I'm going to come back, because this is something that I truly enjoy. And that always comes down to your why as well. So for me, I know when it's time for me to step back, when I'm getting frustrated, but also I knew I was in this for the long haul when I made my first batch of jam. And it wasn't, It was juice in the jar, not jam. And I woke up the next morning. I poured it out. I read through all my directions and I was like, what did I do wrong? What step did I miss? Did I not do this long enough? Did I not? I was like, everything sealed properly, but the actual product itself did not turn into a jelly or jam. I got up the next morning at the crack of dawn, cracked all those seals, put it back in the pot, turned the pot back on for the water bath canner, rinsed out all the jars, put the jars back in the canner, remade the jam, and was in the kitchen for another 2.5 hours, 3 hours, making sure that the product came out the way the product was supposed to be. And I was like, oh yeah, I want this. Feet hurt, tired, barely slept because I was trying to figure out what went wrong. I was like, oh yeah, you want this because in no other circumstance would you have cared enough to get up to figure out what was going on. So for me, I'm still going through trial and error, but the questions that I put here are questions that I hope you will create answers for yourself. What do you do when you're tired? How do you rest? What do you do when you don't feel like it? What's the smallest thing that you can contribute to that passion or that business? When nothing is going right, how do you regroup? How do you self-soothe and say, okay, let me do this one more time. Let me do this 3 more times, 4, 5, 6. When do you ask for help? How do you get past your feelings in order to create something profitable from your passion? Any thoughts, feelings, more feelings, any thoughts or comments about fighting your feelings?
The guidance you gave on regrouping.
Say it one more time.
The guidance you gave on regrouping is helpful.
Thank you. Well, if there's nothing else, we can tie it all up. So this is one of my shots, Susan, that I did at home. I did this at home.
It's very nice.
Thank you.
I want one.
We can make that happen. But in conclusion, add up all the costs, the mental, physical, emotional, and the financial costs. And once you've done all that, does it still feel worth it? Every passion does not have to turn into a profit. Sometimes it can just be a passion, and that's okay. Embrace your lessons, realizations, and pivots. They are necessary for your growth personally and professionally. I think oftentimes we take things with a grain of salt that also just need to be taken, period, and applied. So just make sure that you are really taking really what resonates with you, but you're also hearing your customer, you're hearing your audience, and you're putting those things into practice. And then finally, feelings are fickle. Let them come while you keep going. They're going to change. Happiness is a state of being. You will not always be happy while you are doing something. But if you've said that you're going to commit to it, you said that you're going to push through, do it. There was a comment I wanted to make a while back on one of the slides. One of the things that I put in place for myself was I committed to 1 year. I have not looked past that year. I committed to 4 seasons because my business changes seasonally. So when I break that down, I only have to change 4 times. I am making decisions for 1 season at a time, not a whole year, not 6 months at one time. I am making decisions for 1 season. Now, whether I decide to do 6 different things in that season is on me, and I have to assess whether I have capacity. But 1 year, a year goes by so fast. I'm already 1 season in. So right now, that is how I am keeping track of whether or not I want to do this. And I'll reassess it at the beginning of fall next year or the end of summer next year. Is it what I want to do? Okay, no, it's not. But I did this and I can cross it off the list. It's no longer a what if. So take all of those things. If you want the PowerPoint, I will definitely send it to you. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. And yeah, I appreciate your time. You can follow me at Georgia in a Jar. I didn't put my Instagram on here, but you can follow me at Georgia in a Jar on Instagram. I do take orders through email, and then this I threw my website on the hot plate. So I am taking orders for the month of November. I'm doing like variety boxes and things like that for the holiday season. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it.
Bianca, this is great.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciated the part where you talked about what do you do when you don't feel like moving on or feel like doing anything, because I think that isn't talked about enough. And just pointing out the small things that you can do that make a big difference in the end. I think that was a great point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, great job, Bianca. Thank you. I didn't say too much because it was your show. I got nothing to say. But thank you for doing this. I thought it was really wonderful, and more importantly, I think it's going to help a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to getting my order when you stop making stuff that has chocolate in it. No, I'm going to order some stuff for the holidays, but it's super excited. Thank you all for coming. I hope you're looking out for the rest of the programming coming up for this month and next month and the holiday party. I'm expecting to see you all. Deuces. Peace.
Bye.
Bye, guys.